Welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem. This is the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Tracey and
And I'm Janet O'Brien.
Hello! Hello, Janet.
How are you?
Oh, I am doing all right. I've got 3 cats, and 2 of them are kittens in the house, and nothing is crazy around here at all, especially not my hair.
No.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good,
it's just,
good.
It's been a pretty uneventful week, so,
We had Easter.
Yes, Easter was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm,
that was very, very nice.
And we're getting ready to go out of town.
Yes, we
this
are.
Weekend. Oh my gosh, so much fun. Going up for one night, a quick turnaround in Chicago, and then to Indiana.
Yep.
For the eclipse.
Yep. I'm very excited about that.
Camping, yeah. So, I mean, other than the weather, like, we don't know whether to pack bikinis or sweatsuits or anything in between.
Winter coats, who knows?
I know.
I just don't know.
Maybe both.
Right.
I plan to wear like a really nice puffer jacket with a string bikini underneath.
That'll be perfect for Chicago.
Absolutely.
In April.
And some boots, because they never go out of style.
No, never.
Right. All right. Well, we have a couple of stories.
Yes, I think you're starting first this
I
evening.
do have the first story this week, and so I am going to tell you about the red-headed killer.
Oh.
Do you know this?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right. Well, series of murders that happened between 1978 and 1992, I think, or at least that's when they were identified and recognized. Right. Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia.
Wow. Okay.
So
all over the place.
Our whole map, basically, right? We initially don't know much other than all of the victims, they have red hair.
Oh, wow.
The method of death is typically strangulation. Sometimes it's like blunt force trauma and whatnot, but most often these victims are strangled.
Got it.
And many of the victims were partially undressed or showed signs of having been
sexually assaulted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. In most cases, the victims are transients. They are either juveniles, runaways.
Oh, wow.
Or else they are sex workers, or else people that are where there's addiction and these people just sort of like take off for a little while. But they are typically being so, it's hard to identify the victims because nobody's really looking all that hard for them.
Oh, no.
Nobody is looking for them.
Right.
Until 2018.
Oh.
Teacher Alex Campbell comes along. He is 44. Mm-hmm. He is teaching sociology at Elizabethton High School.
Okay.
And that's in Tennessee. He's one of those teachers that really tries to engage his students with their interests. And he never underestimates them.
Oh, okay.
So he notes that true crime is popular. I mean, this is 2018, right? This
absolutely.
Is like the height of like Dateline and My Favorite Murder and
48 Hours.
Right, right. So true crime is an interest for them. And he's like, okay, well, here's how I engage with my students. So he leans into that. And he's like, okay, well, if you can come up with 20 reasons why these cases are connected, we're going to work on a cold case.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that is their project for the semester. So as a class, the red-headed murders, at least one of the victims is from their area and they're all from nearby states. Most of them are unidentified. He has the class look at 13 different cases.
Okay.
And he says, all right, take a look at what you can about the victims, and do you think they're related? If they are related, then why?
Got it.
Are these victims all the work of the same person? If so, then what identifying factors can we come up with about that one person?
Oh, wow.
What can we find with what we know?
Right.
Right? So the kids lean into it. They love it. They look at the 13 victims, and with the help of both Alex Campbell, their teacher, and turns out he had a former student who had a parent that was retired FBI and puts them in touch with an FBI profiler.
Nice.
So anyway, they put together a profile. And then this FBI profiler comes in and is like, wow, no, this is good. Give them all an A. Now, they didn't, like I said, the people that went missing, none of them had money. Their families, if there were families around, didn't have money. And so these would have just been completely forgotten cases.
Sure, absolutely.
But the FBI profiler, his name is Scott Barker. We have the first actual criminal profile on this person.
Oh, wow.
That we have had at all. At all. And these are like 13 cases, and they narrow it down to 6.
Wow.
That they're like, these 6 are absolutely related.
Wow.
So because of a high school class, we finally have some kind of a case.
Wow.
They ask themselves questions like, okay, what can we guess about this killer from the victims?
Right.
What are the connections? They, again, decide that 6 of the 13 are absolutely connected. Like, these are the same things. What they can surmise about the suspect. They know that he's Caucasian.
Okay.
This is northeastern Tennessee, and serial killers do tend to kill within their own race. They know that he is most likely a male, because A, sexual assault on multiple victims, and strangulation is the method of death in all of these 6, and that is typically committed by men. Like, most poisoners are women. Most stranglers are men, because you've got, a woman, like, I couldn't strangle Ryder as much as I might want to. Most stranglers are men, because you have the physical strength to overpower your victim. The bodies are dumped off of highways, all off of one interstate. So what would that tell you?
They're nearby. I mean, they're driving up and down the same highway for sure. Yeah.
So what might that tell you about somebody that travels interstates a lot?
They're probably a truck driver?
Absolutely.
Hey!
Ding, 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 ding. Got it in one. This is why Janet is going to be my person for a when I go missing file. And so they think that they're truck driver, probably, or somebody that has reason to be up and down the interstate. They think that this is also somebody that is right-handed.
Okay.
Because of sometimes when there is some blunt force trauma, it looks as though, I mean, if you had to hit me right now, you'd have one hand that you would...
It would be my right hand.
Lean to. If I had to hit you right now, I would use my left hand. They think that the IQ is over 100 because this is somebody that is smart enough to, commit all of these crimes and then, move along.
Right.
They are pretty sure that he's heterosexual, again, because of the sexual assault, because of the way and, the size of the victims. They can guess his height and weight. They think that he's from an unstable home. After working with the FBI investigator, they know that we're looking for absent father, domineering mother, and also all of these victims have red hair.
Okay, got it.
So we know there is something with a redhead.
Yeah.
Either they are overwhelmingly attracted to them, or they have an overwhelming revulsion.
Right. Yes,
to
yes,
redheads.
yes. Yep.
So this is all made a little bit more difficult because in 1980 there was something passed called the Mobile Carrier Act.
Okay.
That means it dysregulated trucking.
Oh, yeah. It did.
So it's now easier for new people to become carriers without any kind of training or anything like that.
Yep.
There's fewer stops on monitoring and reporting and all of that. So that means that between this and the nature of the victims, these cases haven't gotten any traction.
Got it.
So these beautiful freaking kids, these amazing kids, they hold a press conference. They go to their teacher and they're like, hey, Mr. Campbell, we want to have a press conference. We really need to get this out. So they invite local press, local law enforcement officers, which the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, like, kind of just steps on them all the way around.
Of course they do.
Yeah, which we won't even get into that. I'm not going to give them the airtime. But they show pictures and any information that they have about the found victims.
Wow.
And like I said, there are 6 people that they know are connected. At this point, only 1 is identified. The other 5 are Jane Does.
Got it.
So they bring up a press conference and they are like, hey, here is what we've found. 5 of these Jane Does, we don't know who they are. Here is what we know about who they are.
Wow.
And they put the pictures and the details and the dates and everything surrounding their disappearances and their death. And this puts them publicly for the first time, out in the open.
Yeah, absolutely.
They also, they're teenagers, so they know that branding is important.
Yep.
So instead of the redheaded killers, which everybody has heard about for years and years, they nicknamed this guy the Bible Belt Strangler.
Oh my God.
Because they're all along the same stretch of highway that goes through the Bible Belt. So they also take to podcasting.
Because everybody has a podcast.
That's right.
Come on, be cool.
Everyone has a podcast. Anyone can do. Look at these 2 dumb bitches. We're gonna clink. So anyway, they talk about him as the Bible Belt Strangler, and everyone interested in the story should check out. There is a podcast called Murder 101.
Okay.
It is a 10-episode thing. Each one is like an hour long. We don't have that kind of time.
No.
So if you want a deep dive on this story, though, go for it.
Okay.
Within 6 months of their press conference, they have ID'd 3 more of the Jane Does.
Wow.
We're going to look at one in particular.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about Tina Farmer. And Tina Farmer, hold on a second here. I am going to scan through the numerous pictures of cats on my phone and show Janet a picture of Tina Farmer.
Okay.
Anyway, she is one of the people that is noted. Oop. Here we go.
Okay.
So she's a redhead. It's the 80s.
Oh, yeah. No. Yep. She looks like she's got kind of a perm, red hair. Yep.
Curly red hair. She ends up disappearing when her daughter is, I think, just only months old.
Oh, my gosh.
But her mother, her daughter has heard about her. And she's like, wow, it's the same time, it's the same place, it's the same kind of thing. She's like, that might be my mom.
Wow.
DNA tests confirm that, yes, this victim is her mother. Turns out her mom ran off with somebody that was a truck driver.
Oh, no.
Oh, and she also had red hair.
Of course.
And they found her wrapped up in a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
And that blanket had seminal fluid on it.
Oh.
So now, in addition to the victim, we also have a suspect.
Right.
And the grand jury will initially indict this suspect for the death of Tina Farmer.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the suspect right now.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
His name is Jerry Johns.
Jerry Johns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's, I think, Jerry Leon Johns. But anyway, he is a truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
And he matches 17 of the I'm sorry. He matches 17 of the identifying factors that the kids had in their profile.
Oh my gosh, wow. That's so crazy.
And he had an unstable childhood. He lived with an absent father and a domineering mother.
Wow.
Also things that were
Yeah.
in the profile.
Yep.
They're like, oh, okay, this guy. I'm sorry, I was looking for that, but I'm just going to leave that alone.
It's fine.
All right. He goes into the military.
Mm-hmm.
He also has trouble with authority. Also on the criminal profile. He goes AWOL. While he's AWOL, he ends up going and kind of hiding out with a neighbor.
Oh.
Of the place that, like, near the place that he lived. And as he is living with the neighbor, he strikes up a relationship with their daughter.
Uh-oh.
Pardon me, sorry. Anyway, he strikes up a relationship with the daughter by the time that she is 12.
Oh, no.
By the time that she is 13, they are pregnant.
Oh, no.
And so they go, Jerry, and we're just going to call her Phyllis by her first name.
Sure.
So anyway, Jerry and Phyllis go to the parents and they're like, hey, good news. We're happy grandparents. We're in love. We're having a baby. And it turns out that Phyllis's mom is like, hey, she had also done sex work.
Oh.
And the next door neighbor, the whole reason I'm like, why would you hide somebody like this?
Right. Yeah.
Well, because Phyllis's mom was a sex worker and had one of her clients was the next door neighbor.
Oh.
So Phyllis and Jerry are half siblings.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
But, love can conquer anything. So Jerry and Phyllis, they escape to Texas and they go to live with Jerry's mom, who, left him, but but everything is okay, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
But as soon as they get there, Jerry ends up getting arrested because of the whole AWOL from the military thing.
Right.
So while he's in, his mother, she's a teenager and has a new baby and has just cut ties with all of her family.
Oh my God.
His mom starts taking her to local bars and pimping her out.
Wow.
I know, this is
Wow.
awful. This is the dark part. I told
Right,
you that
yes.
my story was going to be dark. Jerry finds out about all of this, and he is furious with his mom and jealous of everything that has happened to his child bride.
Oh my God.
Oh, also, I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention mom and wife, red hair.
Okay, everybody has red hair. Got it.
Everybody has red hair. So Jerry Johns gets out, and in 1987, he is arrested again. This time for attacking a woman. Her name is Linda. She is assaulted and then left for dead. After he tried to strangle her, she played dead. Smart move.
Yeah, right.
Smart move if you don't have anything else to do.
Right.
Like, play possum. She is left by the side of the road because he figures he's done with her, but she didn't die.
Right.
And she does have red hair.
Oh my God.
So, anyway, he is in prison for the kidnapping of her. And unfortunately, he did die in prison.
Oh, wow.
In 2015. So we won't be able to get any other information from him.
Wow.
But by now, I mean, the most recent one was July of 2023. These kids are finding
more people that he murdered.
All about, finding out all about the people that are connected. The 6 that we know are all tied to. 5 of the 6 victims are connected, and they're all known now, and their families have closure. And this teacher is not done. Like I said, the most recent ID, her name was Michelle Inman, is in July of 2023. Alex Campbell is still teaching, and his classes are still working on this cold case.
Oh my God!
They're looking into missing persons. They're looking into anything that was in any of these areas because it's a big, wide path.
Yes, it is.
And they're looking into who these people are missing and who were they and what happened. The current class is actually, I just listened to a podcast, Murder 101, you guys.
Right.
Is the podcast that the class and the teacher have together. And you should check it out if you're into this. If you want a deep dive, this is deep dive. They are meeting within the next month with companies that own and rent billboards.
Oh, wow.
And they're trying to take and put photos of the victims up on the billboards, details, because, I mean, that press conference was what shook everything loose.
Right, yeah.
And so now they're like, okay, well, what can we do? We have a podcast. We have a billboard, Right. They're doing what they can to shake everything loose. And Jerry Johns was a piece of shit.
Right, yes, absolutely.
But he's dead now. So there's no other way to punish him, but we can at least get answers.
Right, and try to get some closure for other families.
Semblance of justice and of closure.
Right, yeah.
For these other people. So what they have been saying about Murder 101, like what the podcasters say, is that number 1, every person matters. It doesn't matter if they were a sex worker, if they were a drug addict,
right? Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. They're still a human being,
right? Absolutely.
Somebody held that baby in their arms.
Absolutely.
And also, don't ever underestimate the kids.
No, not at all.
Don't ever.
Never.
These are high school kids.
Right, absolutely.
that have been doing shit for years
Oh my
God.
Now.
So anyway, I mean, a sad story, but also
it's amazing that they, he's like, here's a project, and then they're like, okay.
Hi, we'll just solve this cold case for you. 37 years.
Wow.
37 years, that red-headed murder. And they were like, no, it's the Bible Belt Strangler and we're in charge now.
Oh,
and
my God.
6 months later, they had 5 out of the 6.
Did it say what highway that they were on?
I would have to look
that's okay.
that up. It is, it's in Tennessee.
Okay. That is so crazy.
I know.
That's a good story.
I told you, I don't mind doing the ones that are like true crime, but I have to have some kind of a hook.
Right?
I have to have some kind of hope.
Right.
If I just had to do like All the Way Dark, it would break me. But this one,
yeah.
you go, kids.
Exactly.
You go. We are cheering for you. Everybody, Murder 101. Subscribe to them.
It's amazing. Well, I have a story.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I thought I was going to skip this week, but I decided,
Goodness.
Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of Ma Barker? That would probably mean yes.
Yes? If you asked me to talk about them right now, Mar Barker and her boys, right? This is one where I just get to sit back and like feast on the banquet that Janet has brought. Yum.
Okay, so Ma Barker, she was born, her name was Arizona Donnie Clark. She was born, I know, Arizona.
Arizona
Donnie Clark. That was her maiden name. She was born in Ash Grove, Missouri. Her parents were John and Emmeline Clark. Her family.
And yet they picked such an interesting
I
name for her.
Her name called her Ari when she was a kid. In 1892, she ended up marrying George Barker. Mm-hmm. That's where she got her name, in Lawrence County, Missouri. They had 4 sons. The oldest is Herman. He was born in 1893. Lloyd was born in 1897. Arthur was born in 1899. And Fred was born in 1901. These are the boys.
Okay.
George did not have... He was a low-income worker. He had a lot of low-paying jobs. He was a farmer, he was a watchman, he was a station engineer, and he was a clerk. But, it's just, they have all these boys.
It's also that time in history where you could just be anything.
Right, exactly. I mean, any of those things.
Oh, if only she'd had a daughter. Things would have gone so differently.
Maybe, I don't know, right? I don't know. Apparently, as parents, they didn't really pay attention to their children very much. I know.
Ain't we all been there?
Yeah, they didn't pay attention, and I think later on down the line, when they were like kind of coming up with things about the boys, they said basically the boys were more or less illiterate. Like they would skip school a lot, and when they were in school, they were like bullying other children.
Acted up and didn't.
Yeah, they were not.
Wow, so nobody has an actual full education.
No, they're not great children. The boys, when they were kids, they would go shoplifting. They'd beat up other children, just bully them. Kate would not discipline her boys. That's what she went by. Okay, she ended up...
Oh, okay.
So by the time like she has her kids and they're going to school, she has taken on the name Kate. So Ma goes by Kate at this point. She would not discipline her boys, and she would get upset if anyone tried to discipline them. And including her husband, George.
Boy.
So this is going to go really well.
The worst parents are the ones that are like, don't you dare tell me how to raise my child.
Yep. When the boys would get in trouble, like if the police were involved for shoplifting or whatever, she would harass the police and say, like cry or like just bug the hell out of them. And the police are like, you know what? Just take them. I don't even want to deal with you. So she would constantly get him out of jail because of the way she would act.
You would rather just let them go than deal with their Karen of a mom.
Right. And so the last town they're living in Missouri at this point, they're like, the police were it was just getting too much. So they end up moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. The boys when they move to Tulsa, they end up joining the Central Park Gang.
Oh, okay.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma. The gang members that were a part of the gang, plus the boys, would end up at Ma's house a lot.
Oh.
So they were kind of hanging out, and she loved her boys, and these are another, she'd feed them, and
you have to come get a bowl of chili and wash your socks somewhere.
Right. At this point, two of her boys end up they get sent to prison. Mm-hmm. Lloyd, he ends up getting 25 years at Leavenworth, Kansas Penitentiary for a failed post office robbery. Okay. He never gets out of prison. Mm-hmm. He dies in 1949. Okay. Doc, one of the other boys, he is guilty of killing a watchman. And he gets a life sentence at the Oklahoma Penitentiary. George, her husband, he is sick and tired of this because apparently he's very meek. He's kind of quiet. He doesn't really speak up. And he's like, you know what? I'm kind of done with this. You keep letting them just do whatever and getting in trouble, and I think it's wrong. So he ends up just leaving her. They never get a divorce, but he's just like, it's time for me to go. I'm not doing this anymore. Fred, one of the other boys, he ends up getting convicted of grand larceny, and he gets 5 to 10 years at the Kansas State Prison. Herman, the oldest, he is still robbing and sending money back to Ma.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which she just kind of pours into getting.
Right. So apparently at some point, and I will go through all these because there's so many crimes, he ends up dying in 1927 because he is basically cornered by the police. He's already injured and he doesn't want to give himself up. So he just puts a gun to his head and kills himself. And this throws Ma into she's just, it's her firstborn. She can't believe it. She actually had a gravestone that's I'll show you a picture later, but she spent a lot of money on this huge ass gravestone.
Of course, because how guilty would you feel like your oldest son?
Right, so he's killed himself. Now, her husband already left her, so she ends up getting into relations with a man by the name of Arthur Dunlop. He is a billboard painter. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't really do his job a lot. He's more into drinking and not working. So she's kind of got this boyfriend who's kind of a leech. Herman's... Okay, so we're, again...
she's getting her needs met, but she's also...
She's supporting him.
This isn't a partner.
No, right. Now,
this is a backpack.
Right, exactly. So the oldest who killed himself... she is still in contact with his widow because Herman was married. And so Carol, who is the widow of Herman, basically at this point, all of, her boys are in jail. Her oldest is dead. Ma is super freaking poor. She has no money at all because she was getting money from her kids, right?
Right. And now they're gone. And, so how's she going to make ends meet?
So Herman's widow, Carol, is basically getting groceries for Ma so she can at least eat. And Ma does not like Carol. In fact, Ma doesn't like any of their girlfriends or wives. She wants to be the center of attention. It doesn't matter if her boys have...
Oh, wow. That's weird. Right?
She does not like any of them. So she's very, very poor.
No one's good enough for my baby boy.
Exactly. So, all 3 of her sons are in jail. Herman's dead. She has no money. In 1931, her Fred, the youngest, he ends up getting paroled. And when he gets paroled, he brings along a buddy of his that he met in jail by the name of Alvin. So Alvin, is hanging around, and of course Ma just loves Alvin. It's oh, now I have at least 2 boys back. Yeah, he can hang out with us. It's great. They end up go back to Missouri. They rent a house in Missouri on 7 acres of land. So now she's kind of in a nicer house. She has some more land. It's a really nice place for her, so she's happy.
A way better situation.
Right.
Yeah.
So after Fred and Alvin are paroled, they immediately start committing robberies again.
Oh, no.
Because, that's how they make money. This is during Prohibition. So you have to understand, during this time, during Prohibition, there was this uptick on bank robberies, like a crazy amount of bank robberies. Like there was so many.
Because, hey,
it was easy to. There was a lot of people who robbed banks.
Leslie Irving.
Right, exactly. So they, Fred and Alvin, they decide they're going to commit another robbery, and they're going to rob this department store. And
sure,
it's in Missouri. They end up robbing the department store, and then the next day they're like, "Oh, we have a flat tire. Let's go back to that town where we robbed the department store, so we can get our flat fixed."
Right. We only need this much. Honestly, we're not too far from that right now.
So they go back, and Sheriff Roy Kelly, he starts to approach the car, and he's like, yeah, they look kind of familiar. And instead of them just taking off or trying to kidnap him, whatever, they just immediately kill him. Mm-hmm. So they kill the sheriff. And now, because the boys are going around, now they're killing people, Ma has become a wanted woman because she's associated with her children, her and her deadbeat boyfriend, Dunlap, Fred and Alvin, they end up fleeing to St. Paul, Minnesota, because the boys have some underworld contacts up there. Okay. So they're gonna move up there to get away from stuff. At this point, St. Paul, Minnesota is super corrupt at this time as well. At this point, Ma is in her 60s, and every time they move someplace, she ends up playing the same part over and over. I am that nice old woman who will make you food. If you want to come over and I have some candy I'll give you. She always played she was God-fearing. She always went to church. She'd sing in the choir.
Pillar of the community.
Right.
Pillar of the community.
So the boys finally had a bank robbery that went right for the first time. So they end up going and they rob a bank with, it was Alvin and Fred and whatever group of people they're hanging out with, some associates, and they end up getting a whole bunch of money. St. Paul police chief, Thomas Big Tom Brown, he's corrupt. So when
Big Tom Brown, I'm sorry, Big Tom Brown.
So he's a little corrupt, and so somebody's like, "Oh, I think they're there," and he goes and he tips them off, and he's like, "You guys gotta go. They know you're here." So they're
Big Tom Brown is on the case.
So Dunlap and her boyfriend and Ma and they end up fleeing. The boys start getting really worried. They're like, okay, Ma's boyfriend, he's a drunk. He's kind of loose-lipped. He talks a lot. He's going to get us in trouble. Mm-hmm. So they were really afraid. And so they convince him, they're like, why don't we just take him up to Chicago and let him go. You just be free, not be around us, so maybe he won't say anything. And she reluctantly agrees to this. However, he never makes it to Chicago.
Oh, not even that far, huh?
No, the boys, they end up they do not take him to Chicago. They end up taking him to by a lake, and they just kill him and just leave him by this lake.
You kind of gotta trust the boys.
Don't trust them. So now one of the other sons gets paroled in 1932 because Ma bribed them.
Oh, okay.
In 1932, Minneapolis, they rob a bank there. It's called the Third Northwestern National Bank. Now, when this robbery happens, this bank robbery, Alvin and Ma, they don't feel right about this. They're just like, this is a little bit too public because it was like on a really busy street, and it's just like, I don't know if this is a good idea. But the boys are like, no, we're going to do it. I'm like, okay. So they go there, and of course a shootout happens. And the boys end up killing 2 officers.
You have to listen to Mom.
I know.
Listen to your mother.
So Ma is getting worried because like the boys are killing more people. The Bald Eagle Lake FBI figure out that this is one of the Barkers. So they're starting to clue in. They're like,
so now
it starts like revving
clicking.
up. Right. And so now they move Ma back up. They move Ma to Chicago in her own apartment. She's not going to see any of her boys, though. They're just like, we're going to, like, all of us are going to lay low. We're going to put you up in this little apartment in Chicago. And we're just, maybe we can get him off her tail. So she's stuck in this little apartment. She doesn't see her son. She just listens to the radio and puts together puzzles. That's what she does.
Oh, no. Like all of us during COVID.
Right, exactly. In 1933, the boys decide that they want to steal this payroll that is getting delivered by some policemen. And they end up shooting both of the officers carrying the payroll. And so basically, within 3 years, the boys ended up stealing, and this is 1933 money.
Whoa.
$3 million within
Holy
3
shit,
years.
which is so much more.
Right, and it's just like, even though they always had enough, they just kept doing more. It's kind of like, there was that other story where they kept getting away with the robberies until they got caught at the end. And it's just like, no, we just keep doing more. And that's exactly what these people were doing.
Get your limit. Like, get
Right?
yourself enough and then
I
just
know.
walk away.
I know.
How much do you need?
I don't know. So now they're like, okay, well, we've gotten $3 million. Let's do some more things. Because in 1934, they decide that there's a brewery called the Schmidt Brewery. And there is Schmidt, SCHMIDT brewery. It's right after Prohibition is over. And they're starting to make a bunch of money. And they're going to kidnap basically it's a family member of the Schmidt Brewery by the name of Edward Bremer.
What is it?
It's Bremer. So not related, but still.
No, maybe related.
So anyway, this is where they made their big mistake. The Schmidt's, Edward Bremer's father, happened to be really close to a certain President Roosevelt.
Oh, wow. How many beer barons does Roosevelt have to be tied to with, like, brewery, like, beer baron kidnappings? This is not the only one.
Oh, I bet. Right.
For real. Oh, my goodness.
So, anyway, the boys, but the way they kidnap Edward is they corner him at an intersection. Like, he comes to an intersection, he stops. They corner him in the intersection. They grab him. He's trying to fight him off. So they beat the crap out of him, throw him in a car, and drive off. They are basically going to Edward's dad, and they're like, we want $200,000.
Oh, no.
Or you don't get Edward back. And 3 weeks pass, and there's no resolution. At one point, Edward's dad is like, I'm just going to give you $100,000. Like, he's trying to, like, no.
It's the same thing with the Coors family. They negotiate. He's like, I've got 20 grandkids. If I I'm going to have to pay for 20 grandkids.
So eventually they get their $200,000. They end up releasing him out in the middle of nowhere. Edward Bremer, like, walks, and he gets to his dad's house.
Oh, wow.
And,
lucky him.
And he was like, okay, well, I saw some of the things, and I know they had some gas cans that they were, I guess they had gas cans to fill their cars without actually going to a gas station.
Wow.
So he ends up taking him to where the police where the gas cans are, and they find fingerprints on it.
Hey!
And it just happened to match one of the Barker boys' fingerprints because they have all their fingerprints because they've all been in jail.
Completely.
So 1934, I know, it just keeps going. This is such a crazy story. 1934, the gang splits up. Doc goes to Chicago. Alvin, the one that's basically the adopted son, he and his girlfriend end up moving to Miami. And then Fred takes Ma with him, and they go and they rent a little house on a lake in Central Florida. And they went by the last name Blackburns. So again, same deal. She's the nice lady who, like, you know,
took everybody in.
Right, just super nice.
Oh, give me
Went
food.
to church. Fred starts to get kind of relaxed down there too. He's organizing deer hunting trips for the people around the lake and stuff like that. So, you know, they're just living their best life. They stay at the house on the lake, and the FBI, you know, they've already picked up some fingerprints and stuff. They're like, we're going to figure this out. Now, when I mentioned that Fred really liked deer hunting,
Yes.
they're in Florida.
Okay.
What's in Florida? What's a certain animal in Florida that you don't?
Alligator?
Yes.
Ah! Did I get it? I got it.
So there is apparently an alligator in the lake that has only 3 legs. He's old. And it's become a game to where people want to try to catch this alligator. And he won't shut up about the alligator. He's like, oh, there's, you know, I think the alligator's name is Old Joe. That's the name of the alligator.
I was just about, I was going to call him Charlie. But...
Nope, Old Joe.
Oh,
So
Old Joe.
he just keeps talking about Old Joe, the alligator.
Please tell me Old Joe eats him.
So Doc, he ends up getting picked up by the police. That's the one son, outside of his apartment in Chicago, and with no struggle at all. And he had an associate, Bolton, who was another gang member with him. That were Bolton and Doc were a part of that whole kidnapping scheme with Edward Bremer, right? And so when they arrest both of them, Bolton's like, "Can I do a plea deal? I will rat this family out." So they're like, "Sure." And Bolton's like, "Every time we talk to Fred, I know they're in Florida, I know they're in a lake, I don't remember the name of the town, but he won't shut up about this stupid 3-legged alligator."
Oh,
So the police go, "We're going to go find whatever
Old
town
Joe.
it is, Old Joe." So they do this whole state sweep of like, okay, who knows about this alligator? Because wherever that alligator is, that's where that family is, right?
Oh, no.
So they figure it out. They were like, okay, we figured it out. And then finally on January 16th, 1935, the FBI shows up. There's like 15 FBI agents surveying their house, watching the house all night, you know, seeing who's coming and going or whatever. And by dawn, they're like, okay, we're gonna go deal with this. So one of the FBI agents goes over and knocks on the door, and Ma opens the door, and she's like, we're here for Fred. And she's like, okay, give me a moment. And she kind of steps back, and it was very pleasant and nice. And all of a sudden, Fred's in the second story with a gun. And he just starts shooting. So when this happens, the shootout lasts 4 hours.
Holy shoot.
2,000 rounds were shot into the house.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, how many?
2,000 rounds were shot into
That is kind of a lot.
I know. So they're shooting and shooting and shooting for 4 hours, and then finally the house becomes quiet. So they're like, okay.
Yeah.
So they go into the house. They find a blood trail going up the stairs, and they find Ma, and they find Fred. Fred had been shot like 14 times. Ma had been shot in the chest and in the head.
So she's
And they were
gone
both
too.
laying in bed next to each other because I guess that's where they decided to die.
Oh, wow. Wow, I have heard about Ma Barker, but I didn't know the end of the story.
It keeps going a little bit longer.
Whoa!
So anyway, once this happens, they're still trying to basically they're like, okay, we still have some more people to kind of get out because we haven't caught everyone yet.
Shit.
So
Okay.
they decide to display Fred and Ma their bodies, in a funeral parlor for 8 months.
Wow, that's a lot. That smells great. Oh.
Right? George Barker, her estranged husband, that left a long time ago, like, I don't want to be a part of this. He ends up coming and claiming his son and his wife and takes them back, and then he ends up burying them in Oklahoma next to Herman.
Oh my gosh.
Doc is tried for the Bremer kidnapping, and he gets life in prison in Alcatraz. In 1939, Doc is gunned down for trying to escape Alcatraz. When he gets shot, because they shot him up, his dying words is, "I'm all shot to hell."
Well, I'm all shot to hell.
Lloyd ends up getting released finally from Leavenworth in 1938, but then even though he doesn't technically, I didn't find anything, I don't think he goes back to being a criminal, but like 11 years later, he's murdered by his unstable wife in 1949, shotgun blast to the face.
Wow.
Alvin, he was caught in 1936. That's the adopted son.
Okay.
He's caught in New Orleans. He ends up pleading guilty, and he spends 33 years in a penitentiary, most of that in Alcatraz. In 1969, Alvin is paroled. He ends up writing 2 books, and he moves to Spain.
Nothing good happens to criminals in New Orleans. Like, if you're a criminal, don't go to New Orleans.
And then Alvin ends up passing away in 1979, most likely from an overdose of sleeping pills.
Oh, wow.
So I was going to read how many things, but there's so many crimes. I'm just going to read like a handful, because there's so many. Like,
sure.
I would say, let's see here, between 1910 and 1919, they had 6 crimes that we know of.
Holy cats.
They were arrested for, Herman was arrested in 1910 because he was doing a highway robbery and ended up running over a child in his getaway car.
Oh no.
A few years later, all the brothers were involved in robbery and murder. They got involved in the Central Park gang, which was, the one in Tulsa. Herman, let's see here, he gets arrested again in Webb City for another robbery, and then he gets arrested again in 1915 for a robbery in Joplin, Missouri. And in 1918, Doc ends up stealing a car in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and gets arrested for that. But then he escaped. Wow. I mean, 1920 to 29, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I was like, I'm not going to read all these. There's so many of them. Just go to Wikipedia.
So many.
And read them. Because, I started reading, I was like, oh, no. That's just insane. They basically killed a lot of people. Oof, they killed people. They killed a lot of cops, specifically. It wasn't just, random people. I mean, they were killing the people like, oh, we're going to get put in jail. We better kill that cop. Yeah.
Completely.
So yeah, that's my story of Ma Barker and her boys.
Yeah. Well, there are a whole lot of bodies on that trail.
There is.
My goodness.
So that's my story.
And, I don't know about you, but I feel like a little bit shaken up.
I know.
By all of that.
Yeah, I know.
So we should take a break.
You should take a break, and then we'll come back with what's nice.
We will come back with what's nice. If you're from the Midwest, even if you're not, there are a few ways that you can help to support our podcast. Send episode ideas to bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. You can also join our Facebook group. You can also buy our merch. All of them are available in the show notes. And we really, really love you, and we love that you support our podcast, and we are getting ready to return to What's Nice. And now we're back for What's Nice.
We're back for What's Nice.
All right. So, Elizabethton, Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
Or, I'm sorry, Tennessee. Elizabethton, Tennessee. The thing that I found was the Elizabethton Covered Bridge.
Oh, okay. We
It
love covered
is.
bridges.
I know. Well, I saw it and I was like, oh, Janet, I love this.
Right?
It's 137 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
It was built in 1882.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And so it's just like a single covered bridge, gabled roof. One traffic lane that is for bicycles.
Oh, nice.
And one that is for walking.
Okay, got it.
They have something that they do every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you a picture.
Okay.
And it's Covered Bridge Days. That is something that they do there every year.
Awesome.
And it's in June of every year.
Sweet.
It's over the Doe River.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's called the $5 Bridge.
Okay.
And the reason why...
Why is it called the $5 bridge?
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
It goes over a falls.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's pretty. Blue Hole Falls. Neat.
That is so, so pretty. It's called the $5 Bridge because at the time that they made the contract, they cost $5 to make the he made $5 on the whole thing.
Oh my God.
E. Hunter
Okay.
was the guy that made it, and it was in 1882.
Nice.
And every year they have this show that has like country and gospel music and a car show.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And activities for the kids. But you can go and do that every
Nice.
year. Covered Bridge Days are in June of every year.
Uh-huh.
And that's really all.
That's it. Mine's kind of short too, but that's okay because we had long stories. So, you ready for my What's Nice? Okay. So, my What's Nice, I just went, let's just start where everything started. Ash Grove, Missouri. The Nathan Boone Homestead. He is the youngest son of Daniel Boone. So it was built in 1837 by Nathan Boone. Nathan and Olive, that's his wife, they both live there. It's a 1.5-story classic saddlebag pioneer log house. It has oak log walls. It became an historic site back in like 1990. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but that's the house right there.
Oh my gosh.
So you can go visit it. It's part of it's a state historic site. It's basically a park. They have a neat little lake in the back. And
Nice.
yeah, it just looks fun. So I like Daniel Boone only because I share his birthday. I do. But yeah, so it's 2 miles north of Ash Grove. But I'm like, well, that seems pretty neat. I've not been there before, and now I might need to go because
Nice.
So that's my What's Nice in Ash Grove.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
So I think we're at the end.
We are. And this is where we say,
Stay Midwest nice.
stay Midwest nice.